and welcome back to Shit You Should Know. Today we're going to be talking about activity watches. So, starting off with a question, what activity watch should we get? Throw that over to you.
It'll come down to a few things, I think. One will obviously be price, two will probably be the ones that you like the look of, three will be obviously the better, depending on sort of what you're using it for as well, to be honest with you. If you are using it for heart rate, like monitoring your heart rate and stuff like that, there will be some that are better, but for me personally, I can only speak from using an Apple Watch. That's the only one I've ever had. I'm still on Series 1, so it's a little bit old now. But I personally have got a bit of a love-hate with watches. I think people get too caught up on the numbers and lose sort of track of what they're lose sight of what they're actually doing, if that makes sense. Like, thinking like because they've not started the watch at a workout that the workout's pointless, and getting too sort of caught up on certain numbers. So for me it would come down to, like I say, cost, which ones you prefer, and how serious you are about using them. For me personally, I won't be able to recommend any others apart from an Apple Watch, but well,
it's better than me. I can't recommend any. I did get one once for Christmas and I said, can we send it back? Didn't want to waste the money, but I knew that I wouldn't use it and I'd get too focused on the numbers that it wouldn't work for me. I think as well, like say, you lose sight of what you're actually doing. Like, just because you've gone for a walk and you haven't tracked the steps doesn't mean that you haven't just gone for a 60-minute walk. Like when you start looking at your step count, you'll realise that, okay, every time I go for a 60-minute walk, I hit 8,000 steps. So you don't literally have to track your steps every time. You can just kind of question, have I been for a 60-minute walk? Yes or no? Like, you know whether you have or not. What they are good for is if you are busy and you feel like you're busy and you don't have time for a walk, then it's good to actually look at your watch or look at your phone and see, okay, I'm busy, but how actively busy am I? Am I sat down and mentally busy and maybe like fidgeting about but not moving so much, so your step count's like 2,000? Or are you actually physically busy where you are running around, walking around Tesco's, doing your shopping, walking around, even in your job? So that's what it's good for, just to get an idea of what your average day does look like. But when you kind of got that, you don't need to carry on tracking. It's just maybe once a week, once a month, just have a little check. Yep, okay, still moving. And then you go back. So in terms of like actually tracking movement, what watch should you get? Most phones have trackers and they're pretty good. Yeah, okay, you don't have your phone on you all the time, but it doesn't need to be 100% accurate and represent your day completely. Because even if you wore a watch, if you're sat, someone actually said they were sat playing the piano and they got to like, who was that? I can't remember now. Someone was sat playing the piano and they got to like 15,000 steps and they're like, oh, I've done my steps. And it's like, well, you haven't. You've just been moving your hand about. So that's something that we can all like kind of pick up on with the watches, is that doing the washing up or cooking or anything that's day to day with the hands, your steps will go up, but you're not actually doing steps. Painting the gym.
Painting the gym. I remember he said I was about 50 or 60,000 steps when I was painting the gym, but I just had my watch on that and I literally probably did about 8 steps. Just walked the length of the gym and I did about 60,000 steps. So for that,
so it doesn't matter which one.
Not getting too caught up on it.
Yeah.
Not to say that I do. I think obviously they've got a massive benefit. They've got a lot of benefits. They've got a lot of people up and moving, and like the step challenges with people, getting people out and hitting the steps and stuff. I think they're great for that. But it's just trying not to get too caught up on the numbers, and especially the calories burned in the gym. Yeah. I wouldn't personally even set a watch for the calories burned. Like, fair enough, you're setting it for heart rate and time and things like that, and it can track, and obviously like hitting your activities for the day, if you're in little competitions with friends and stuff, yeah, brilliant. But actually getting caught up on how many calories you've burnt in the gym doing whatever you're doing, not something I'd recommend getting too caught up on, to be honest. Like I say, it's good. It's a good one to sort of see what you're doing, but like I say, are you really in the gym to burn calories? If you've worked with us for any lot of sort of length of time, then no, you won't be. You'll be in the gym to get moving, get stronger, get fitter, and you can track all that by looking at your weights, looking at what you're doing in the gym. Are you making progress in the gym? Are you making progress out of the gym? And if you are making progress on all the other numbers, then what calories you've burnt in that session, is it really relevant? Probably not, in my opinion.
Most of the time, if a session is 45 minutes to 60 minutes, you'll burn between 200 and 400 calories. Like, it'll be within that range, depending on what you're doing. So if you know that on an average, then you don't need to keep tracking it, because it's just what you do. And as well, to track calories out, it just, like, what actually is the point in it? Because we don't go, oh, I've just walked down the stairs, now I'm making my breakfast, now I've walked back up the stairs, how many calories did I burn? Like, we don't do that. And we don't go, oh, I just digested a chicken breast and some chicken, I wonder how many calories I burned digesting that. So why is it suddenly that when we're exercising we go, oh, I'm going to track the calories of this? It just makes no sense, because what are you going to do with that number? Oh, it's 400 calories that I've burnt in the gym. Great. What does that actually mean? In terms of your whole day, it means nothing. And that's why there's total daily energy expenditure, which we can calculate, which takes everything into account as an estimate. So it estimates on average how many steps you do, how much activity you do, or the non-exercise activity, thermogenesis activities that you do, the food, the energy it takes to digest foods, and it adds it all up, so you don't have to do all the adding up of exercise and energy going out. It's just worked out for you, so you only have to track what's going in and not out, because that's just too much maths.
Yeah, but like I say, for tracking, especially things like running, like for me personally, for like running and biking, I used to like using my watch. It was always good to sort of see what distance I'd done, speeds and stuff like that, and then for like me, I'd try to improve on my pace if I was running, or I'd have a look at certain things like that. So yeah, good, definitely good for tracking things like that.
Yeah, and
it's just not
running
getting
workouts as well.
And it's just not getting too caught up on numbers, especially calories burnt. And steps as well, really. Like, steps are going to be like the things now, they're not very accurate, but they're consistently inaccurate. So your watch will always be inaccurate, but it will be consistent with that. So if obviously if one of your friends has got a different watch, that's going to be tracking steps completely different to what your watch is tracking steps, and they can be like massively out. But just know that yours is going to be the same sort of thing as it is on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. So if you're tracking your own, then yeah, it'll be consistent, but probably not very accurate.
Because if you are looking at the bigger picture, then you don't need to compare it to your friends, because if you know that doing 10,000 steps a day, having 2,000 calories and training 3 times a week, if you know that that routine helps you lose fat, and then maybe you want to lose a bit more, then you know, okay, I'm going to up my steps by 3,000, so that will take you to 13,000. Doesn't matter whether your other friend's watch is on 8,000 and they're eating 2,000 and doing 3 training sessions. It doesn't matter what the actual numbers are, as long as it's for you and you know what your results you're getting are. What the results you're getting from those numbers are, if that makes sense. I'm not sure. So another question then with the watches, heart rate. So they monitor our heart rates, and what heart rate should we be at when training? Is it worth looking at? Is there any thoughts on that?
For the very large majority, no, probably. The heart rate zones of like working at a certain zone for cardio, working at a certain zone for fat burn, etc., is, again, in my opinion, not something we need to track, if I'm honest. For the very small niche, there is what am I trying to say? The reason to sort of track your heart rate and like heart rate zones, that sort of thing, and it can be sort of like a bit of an indicator of progress as well. If you wanted to look at it, sort of how fast you're recovering from higher intensity intervals and stuff like that. But again, one, is it accurate on a watch that's on your wrist? Mine's like a fucking antique now anyway, so it's not overly accurate. I'm sure they are getting better, but it's not something I'd get too caught up on. Personally, would you say so?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, people that if you're getting too caught up on the numbers, it's just another barrier to exercise as well. Because if there's so many things that you need to do and make sure are right, then just going to the gym and enjoying the training isn't just enjoying it, because you've got to track your number of calories, your number of weights, your reps, your heart rate. There's just so much going on that training just isn't training anymore. It's
all numbers.
It's like we need an Excel spreadsheet for our life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just what you were saying, if you are a elite athlete or you are trying to do high intensity interval training properly, like, and get into that 80% heart rate zone, then yeah, sure, it could be worth tracking it. But if you're really not that bothered, and I mean, most of the time, if you're trying to get yourself out of breath and work at high intensity, just check yourself. Yeah. If you're out of breath, then yeah, you're probably there. If you're not, then you probably need to work a bit harder and be a bit more intense. So again, there's always ways to check without checking the numbers. So
yeah, I think that sums it up. So it might have sounded like we've just bashed watches for the last 10 minutes, but generally I do think there's a big place for them, and I do like them for certain things. Like I said, I've got a love-hate, so I love some certain things. I actually like using it myself personally, but like I said, I don't get caught up on the numbers, and that's what we
want to exaggerate.
Want to get across. So don't go binge watch, but don't get too caught up on the numbers.
Yeah, that's it for episode 3. Hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for our next one.